PIEGUYRULZ here, and what time is it?
Recast time!
That's a good lemon grab impression there.
Unacceptable!
It's time for the recast! All right.
You screamed so loud it cut out on my end.
Yeah, no, same here.
Now that everyone's tuned out. Hey guys, welcome to the recast. I am joined, as always, by the Jolly Green Giant, Monsters, something Horatio reviews. I forget what we decided on.
Hey there. Was there like a...
There was a hyphen.
I don't remember.
There was a hyphen in there. That's the important part.
You're
Like jalapeno reviews or something? I don't remember.
Monsters Jalapeno Horatio reviews. How you doing, Monsters?
I'm doing good.
All right, I'm also joined by 16 Minutes of Silence, Lea C.
Hey guys, I'm not actually silent this time, so that's good.
Yay! Also, I believe the last time you were on, I don't think you had renamed your channel. So if you want to introduce yourself, you're Lea C from Toon Room.
Oh right, okay, yeah. So I didn't last time I was on, but my channel rebrand name is Toon Runes. I cover cartoons, mostly Steven Universe. But yeah, so that's my rebrand is Toon Runes.
Nice. All right. So we have a really good show for you guys this week. We got a jam-packed one. We've got a lot of Disney Plus news to talk about. We have The Missing Link bombing at the box office to talk about. Steven Universe winning an award. We've got some really intense Adventure Time episodes to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Pretty cool question of the week. And Monsters and I watched something pretty bad.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
This concerns me because I don't know what it is.
We're fulfilling a promise. No, we didn't ask you to watch it, Lee. I couldn't. But yeah, we've got a Discord server. If you don't know, link is in the description. Come join the fun. All right. Ask some questions that we answer each week on the podcast, except the weeks that we don't do that. Comment upon the episodes we talk about, which we usually remember to mention on the show, and just join the conversation. Check out my cat. So, yeah.
Yes.
If the promise of adorable little tiny cat pictures does not lure you to our Discord server, then I don't know what will.
This cat's very cute. I will agree.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Monsters, what corrections do we have from last week?
Well, I believe you mentioned that BoJack DVDs aren't a thing.
Mm-hmm.
However, in December of this past year, Shout Factory announced that they had secured the home entertainment distribution rights to the one and only BoJack Horseman.
Well, goodbye Netflix subscription.
And the crazy thing is, too, I read up on it a little bit, and apparently a company that Michael Eisner owns is partially responsible for the production of BoJack.
Really?
Yeah, it's called, like, Toronto Entertainment or something.
Oh, I love Toronto. Well, I was going to say I love Toronto. They make BoJack, but that's... according to this article, passionate BoJack Horseman fans will carry these DVDs around wherever they go, like Linus and his blanket, said Eisner. And you know what? For once, Eisner, you're correct about everything. I'm just gonna keep my BoJack DVD in my back pocket, and anytime I'm just hanging out with people randomly, I'll be like, "Hey, you want to watch the Sad Horse Show? Huh? you wanna? No, it's not My Little Pony. I swear, it's good."
PIEGUYRULZ is brony confirmed.
I feel like there needs to be a brony term for BoJack, like person with depression.
I thought of something. Actually, no, I didn't. Now I lost it. Never
Nihilist?
mind.
Nihilist. That's Mr. Peanut Butter fans.
Depressed furry.
Oh. All right. So last week we promised that we were going to say the live show date this week. This week we're going to promise that we're going to say the live show date next week. We don't have a date for you guys yet. I'm sorry. I'm kind of waiting to hear back on a job offer. So until I get the yes or no on that, we can't exactly know which days I'm going to be able to be free for this. So we will have that date for you hopefully next week. If not then the week after. But we have not forgotten. We will be having a live show. Probably not this month, but definitely next month.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, Monsters, should we talk about what we watched first? That one thing? Or should we end with that? All right.
Sure.
All right. So, Monsters and I, now, way back weeks ago when we covered all the Nick not upfront news, I think I said something along the lines of, hey, we should actually watch these shows as they come out and give you guys like an ongoing update.
Right.
I had forgotten about that, but Monsters did not.
Yeah. I tried not to.
You reminded me. So we watched the top-rated show on Nickelodeon, on all kids' networks for the first week in April, Nickelodeon's The Substitute.
I've never heard of that.
Okay. So, it's a very high-concept show. Basically, each episode, they put a celebrity in a bunch of makeup, and they have them pretend to be a substitute teacher at a real school. And they eat spicy peppers and knock stuff over and pretend to be an old man.
According to the opening voiceover from the intro to the show, they say, it's the wildest hidden camera show featuring top prank experts, the world's best makeup artists, and your favorite stars. So whatever that means.
I mean, what could we, like, the show is exactly what you think it is.
I guess the best way I thought of it in my head was, like, I really like the show Brain Rush on Cartoon Network Reel, but on the other CN Reel shows were, like, reality TV but worse. That's like the best comparison I can make.
Reality TV, but we don't have to try as hard because they're kids. It was probably the mentality they went into this.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of any other prank show that's on the air right now aside from Impractical Jokers, which admittedly is a very big and popular show. But this is not like Impractical Jokers. The people on Impractical Jokers are funny, and the like
they're actually comedians.
Well, right, and it's also like they embarrass each other. That's the idea behind it. It's not like, ha ha, we fooled someone into thinking this. It's more like, ha ha, we got a guy to say egg salad 26 times to a random person on the street. Like, it's the embarrassment of the hosts mainly.
Right.
In this one, it's just the lowest level thing. There's 3 setups. The first setup, and it's all Jace Norman in this first episode. It's not like they rotate around celebrities, probably because they couldn't afford to have multiple celebrities in one episode. And of course, the first episode is Jace Norman, which is already a Nickelodeon staple.
Winner of 3 Kids' Choice Awards for Best Male Star.
Whoa. And they really were proud of the fact that they got the makeup people for Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel and like the first Thor.
Aren't those
Oscar nominated?
Aren't those movies all CG? Do they really have any people in masks? Any like, I don't want to.
It's the green screen makeup.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the costume
Have you seen
wasn't.
Jenna Marbles?
The costume wasn't like terrible. Like, it's not
right.
Like, and for what it's worth, I will say that Jace was trying, and I like Jace. He seems like a nice guy. Like, I don't want to hate on Jace Norman, but the 3 setups on the show were it was a class on hot peppers. I think that like the title of the segment was like Hot Pepper for Teacher or something, which is not a reference that's appropriate for children.
Yeah, it's not.
But yeah, he eats a hot pepper and he's like, "Oh, it's hot! Help me! Ooh!" And then the second segment is Clumsy Teacher. He goes to plug in a flat screen TV. This is how you know it's fake, because I swear to you, there's no middle school in the country that has anything other than a CRTV strapped on top of one of those things.
Yeah.
Like those trays. There's no way that any of them have HD TVs. Unless if you have one, then you're rich. Your school's rich. No, your school's not allotting its funding correctly. But it should all go to smart boards. No, but anyway,
no. By the time I was in middle school, all we had was projectors. We didn't even use those TVs anymore.
Right. At any rate, he's got an HD TV and he goes to plug it in, and whoa, the TV goes flying. Uh-oh.
Whoa.
And then I don't know. I think he pulls out a drawer or something. Like that's it. That's the comedy, guys. That's what you got. And the third segment is that he's a gym teacher, but he's old, so he can't do the tasks. So he needs the children to like push him.
Yeah. And then there's the reveal at the end. All the kids are shocked, and then it's so heartwarming because Nickelodeon is donating $25,000 to the school.
Yay. Can I just say that the reveal part of it is like the worst, because like you would think that the reveal would be the best part, like the like oh my god moment, but like he doesn't take off the makeup. There's a pre-filmed thing like before he got the makeup put on in his trailer of like, "Hi, I'm Jace Norman and I just pranked you," and then he comes out in the costume. He doesn't take the costume off. Like, that's what a reveal is. A reveal is like, hey, I'm your gym teacher. And then he takes off the mask and he's like, it's me, Chase Norman, Kid Danger, wubba-lubba-dub-dub.
Or Rick Sanchez.
Right. Right? Like, am I wrong? Is that not how you would do this?
No, yeah, it was pretty
underwhelming?
anticlimactic. Yeah.
The
Couple things.
The kids knew. Hang on. Let me just say, the kids knew. The kids knew this whole... there's no way.
Yeah.
The kids didn't know. First of all, the kids are, like, laughing throughout the whole thing. Mind you, there's also laugh track in this, and I know because it's the same stupid laugh track they use for everything. So, like,
Right.
They didn't feel confident enough in the actual children's laughter. But yeah, so, like, the way the kids are acting and behaving, they know, at least they know there's some prank going on. Like, I don't buy, because, and like, the logistics of the show, what? They had to, like, they got permission slips that their parents had to sign or something? Like, there's no way parents couldn't, the parents had to have known about this, and if the parents knew about it, one kid certainly knew about it, and if that one kid knew, then the whole school knew.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, just logistically.
Yeah. Couple things. First off, I was right. It was being filmed in Burbank, which Jason Norman straight up said is right near where he films. So, of course, it's only going to be schools in California.
Yep.
Second off, yeah, this is way too elaborate. Like, the kids have to know something's up with all these, like, these props and all these, you know, like, these big poster boards and a platter full of drinks and stuff.
The
Like,
lesson on hot peppers, where a teacher eats the pepper.
Yeah.
Like...
And I know at least in my middle school, like, people were constantly using their phones and, like, swearing left and right. And, like, I feel like the kids were told beforehand, you're going to be on camera, so put on your best behavior.
Well, Monsters, don't forget, well, I mean, I'm sure you picked up on this, like, the cuts on this show, and it's a reality show, so there's always a lot of cuts. There's, like, 3 cuts in a 10-second period.
Oh my god, it's so heavily edited. And most of it's, like, reaction shots.
Oh, yeah.
Like, of just people shocked or... And the weird thing is, too, they have, I guess, maybe to imply to the viewer, like, hey, we're legit. They keep cutting to reaction shots of the crew, like, either operating the remote cameras or just, like, with their headsets on, like, shocked in the control room.
It's like...
and it feels so staged.
Yeah, and there's not a single moment in this that's, like, a really big, like, OMG moment. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, I feel like if there was, like, a moment where, like, they really fooled a kid. Like, there was a kid that was, like, I don't know, like, he had his phone out and was ready to call 911 or something. Like, that's, like, a moment that's, like, ooh. But it was just, it's so boring. Like, it's, and I mean, look, we're here dumping on a show that's meant for little kids. So, I don't know. If you're a little kid and you like this, like, that's fine. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Listen, everyone watches trashy TV to some extent. But it's just like, it's very, very low effort, even for a reality show in 2019 on Nickelodeon.
Right. Another thing I took note of is the Carolina Reaper actually isn't the hottest pepper. So, yeah, you're wrong, Jace Norman.
Wow, miseducating the children. That's the biggest crime of all of this.
Yes. It's a waste of school budget money. No.
Oh, well, it definitely is that. That $25,000 went towards, like, repairs for all the stuff Jace Norman broke.
Yeah. I noticed that there was a lot of sound effects that were added in post.
Oh,
like,
God, yeah.
Like when the TV fell, they added like this really obvious glass crack sound that very clearly wasn't there. And also, like, if you've ever seen a reality show, whether it be like Extreme Makeover
Kitchen
Home
Nightmares.
Edition or like Kitchen Nightmares or Undercover Boss, they play that like ominous music all the time, and that's like all throughout it.
Oh yeah. But there's
the
no
ominous music.
But there's no drama. Yeah, you know, like, dun.
Oh really?
Like sound cues, very peculiar music. Yeah.
I mean, that's
boy.
common in reality shows. Kitchen Nightmares.
Right.
I love Kitchen Nightmares, but it's full of that.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I
feel like the cameras were super noticeable. Like they did a good job of like hiding the cameras in the cuts, but like there's no way that those cameras weren't like mounted all around or like sound equipment, especially in the classroom. Like there's no way. Like if I walked into that room, I would have noticed that stuff immediately, like a sore thumb.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess my question is, what's the actual content here? Like, what's meant to be the entertaining part? Is it seeing this actor like pretend to be someone he's not? Because that wasn't. Again, Jace does like an all right job, but it's not like his performance is funny to us. Is the content supposed to be, haha, we fooled them kids? Because I didn't feel the kids were fooled. Like, what's the actual content? Like, if they got like an actual comedian up here, I'm trying to think of a non-controversial comedian that's allowed near children.
Isn't it that one
Dane
guy that's in
Cook.
Spider-Verse?
No, not that. Oh, yeah, John
Hannibal Buress.
Mulaney.
Or
Yeah,
Mulaney.
yeah,
Your guy.
he's not controversial.
Yeah,
He's
Sorry,
great.
I was thinking Homecoming. Yeah.
Yeah, if they got him up there and he was doing his like weird Spider-Ham bit or whatever he did, like, you know what I mean? Like, if they actually got a comedian and they had a comedian
Right.
doing a bit, then even if the kids weren't fooled, at least I could be like, haha, I'm entertained by that. But it's like the setups are so obvious and forced and fake, and it's
Yeah. At the end too, like I noticed, because it feels so artificial. They have like a slow zoom in on like a speaker, and you hear this clearly added in post VO that says, "All students, there's a special assembly in the gym." And then it cuts to the gym, and it's only the kids that were in the classrooms. So there's not like an entire crowd of kids. It's just the ones that were there, and they know that something's up. Like it's just
kids
it's
aren't
too
dumb. Like,
it's too good to be true. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I shouldn't even say that because it's not good.
yeah. I don't know. Those kids got to meet Jason Norman. That's the upside.
Yeah.
Of this. And
Jason Norman as a old man.
yeah, I mean, I feel like he's probably like all sweaty after the prosthetics and he just wants to go home. Like he's not gonna be signing those kids' autographs. He's just like, and you tried to go to the nurse's office, you brat. You're not getting an autograph. You don't get to go to the danger cave or whatever he's got.
Yeah.
Danger Cave.
I forget what it's called. He's got a bat cave in the show. I've seen Henry Danger. All right.
Well, the thing is too, little derailed, but for like the first two commercial breaks, they kept teasing that bit where he knocks the TV over.
They play
like it's some sort of big reveal.
They play everything up like it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's like coming up next after the break on The Substitute, and it's him like knocking down the TV, and it cuts to like a reaction shot of a kid freaking out. But when it actually happens, it's just like, oh, he's just being stupid.
Yep. There's a montage on Nickelodeon's YouTube channel of like, according to them, the best bits, which I was almost just gonna watch that and then like pretend like I watched the whole thing, but no, I didn't want to do that. But yeah, if you watch that, what are considered the best moments for 4 minutes, you will get a very good feel for what this show is. Is there any, like, I'm trying to look to see, is there any, who's going to be the other people on this show? Because all I see are just news articles about Jace Norman. Was this whole show just an April Fool's prank? Because I don't see any news about. Well,
Maybe it was just an April Fool's joke.
I don't know, but this was the first of all those things announced to come out, and that's not good. That this was so bad, and then this was what got the best ratings. Remember when we were talking about the new guy at Nickelodeon and how his plan was to basically
Brian Robbins.
Yeah, to do a bunch of random things and see what sticks. This is going to give him the worst message. Like, Nick's going to just become reality shows. If this is the best thing that gets the best ratings on any kids network, it beat out Cartoon Network and Disney XD and all this other stuff. Like, new episode premieres of, like, I don't know, like We Bare Bears and stuff. Like, kids would rather watch this.
And it's also extremely low effort, too. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
compared
yeah.
to, like, other shows. So, of course, that's what they're going to opt for because it's less money and less effort.
And, I mean, I don't, like, who knows, right? Like, it could be morbid curiosity why a bunch of people tuned in. It could have just been good advertising. It could just be that Monsters and I are wrong and Jace Norman is just, like, a huge star at this point. That could also be possible.
That's true.
Right.
But I would love to see how. Oh God, I don't want to say. I not watch the show. I'm not watching the show again. But I would love to see how the ratings do for the other episodes going forward, based upon who they get. Like, because Jace Norman, I guess, is arguably the biggest person that Nick has in its stable right now. Like, who are they gonna get? Like, I Am Frankie, like that girl. Is that who they're gonna get?
Fred back.
No. Well, I don't think Lucas wants anything to do with them.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't.
For all we know, I mean, there's been plenty of shows that have opened very strong and then ratings have slumped. So, I mean, maybe this will be the case with that. I just know that Nickelodeon's probably going to keep doing this sort of stuff because, you know, really the only expenses they have are paying the actor and whoever the artists are. And
$25,000 to the school.
Well, yeah, but I mean, can that be a tax write-off?
Probably, because it's a donation, right?
It is a donation, but it's tied to a service that they're getting in return, i.e. making the show. So it might not be a tax write-off, but it might also be like a... I mean, who knows? Are they actually donating this? Is there like some fine print? Right? Like, legitimately, I don't know. They might not actually be donating this money.
I think they are.
I feel like they would, just because, like, if it came out that they actually didn't donate it, can you imagine how much trouble they would get into?
True.
Plus, yeah, I feel like in the grand scheme of things, $25,000 isn't a lot for that sort of production.
Yeah,
No.
I guess that's fair. All right.
I couldn't watch anything after that.
Your palate was just too full.
Yes.
I watched other things this week. I watched more King of the Hill.
Huh?
I tell you what. Dang on,
Propane.
King of the Hill.
I love King of the Hill. That's a great show.
Yeah, it is. So I watched basically just a bunch of random episodes across the entire series, and I can I don't know. It's kind of an interesting trajectory for the show, because in the first season especially, it's like, so there's this weird theory that Hank is autistic, okay? And like, it kind of makes sense within the first season of the show, because Hank is like the weirdest one in that show. Like, he is like obsessive about propane, and he is like really upset that people know that he's like constipated. Like, a lot of the conflicts in the first season have to do with Hank being like just like unreasonably embarrassed and like uptight about everything. Whereas in the rest of the show, as it goes on, Hank's character doesn't really change, but instead the show, like, everything else kind of shifts towards like the crazier, to the point where Hank's like really reserved perspective is the more sane one. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, it's not like they change his character, but they kind of soften him up a little bit, but then they also just like Dale gets way more insane, Bill gets way more pathetic, Boomhauer is still not really much of a character, and like they run into more issues where it's like there's outside people that are like hyper liberal or whatever, to the point where it's like Hank's is the more preferred point of view,
right?
But it's interesting, and I don't know, it's like, in some ways, I would say the show is a lot more like laid back and less frustrating than something like Family Guy or The Simpsons can be when it's bad. But in other ways, King of the Hill can be really annoying when it's bad. Like, there are some characters, Lucky, that really, really rub you the wrong way, and you just don't want them on the show. Or Peggy in some episodes where, oh my god, Peggy is the worst possible thing, and the show sometimes is aware that she's the worst, and it's funny. And it's kind of like pathetic, because like the show and the world reacts to her like you would expect for someone with such a big ego. But then other times it's like the show like rewards her for being just such a pompous jerk. It's very strange. One episode in particular I watched accidentally. I didn't really mean to watch this episode, because, okay, you know what? Like a while back when everyone was doing those like cartoons that haunted my childhood.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I was thinking about that, and like I couldn't think of any examples of things that really, like, freaked me out. And this one episode of King of the Hill freaked me out. The episode's called Pygmalion. And it's about Luann meeting a guy who makes hot dogs, like an older gentleman who runs this company. And he takes an interest in her. At first, like, posing it as, like, a job opportunity, but he's actually interested in her. Which, like, okay, that seems like a pretty normal King of the Hill plot. But then it takes a turn where he's trying to turn her into, like, this advertising mascot that his family had when he was young, like this, like, Wendy's-like girl. And he wants to turn her into that, and he wants to become in, like, a pig suit so he can remake the advertisement. It's weird. It gets really weird. And the end of the episode, he gets slaughtered in a pig slaughtering machine.
Oh no.
It's a freaky episode, but not before he gets electrocuted and turned completely sane. It's strange. Like, it's a Halloween episode, I should say, but it's not like, It's not out of continuity. It's just a Halloween episode where things start off relatively normal. Like it starts off where Peggy is like protective of her, and like the whole thing is that Peggy makes decisions for her, which is kind of a running theme throughout the show. And there's kind of like an interesting interplay there, and Hank's like, at first upset that this guy is being kind of inappropriate with Luann, but then he's like, well, Luann's out of my hair, I tell you what. You know,
That was a great impression.
thank you. So like there's like this interesting thing going on, and then they just kind of ruin it with this third act. Like this dude is completely bonkers plotline. He drugs her and dyes her hair, and then like the climax is in this pig meat packing factory, and it's just like there's a line at the end of the episode where Luann's like, he's in a better place now, and then Peggy's like, actually he's been made into like little tiny hot dog wieners. No one's in a better place from that. Like it's like, I don't know. But anyway, I saw that when I was a lot younger, and it really freaked me out. And I watched that episode accidentally without realizing it was that episode. And then...
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It just brought back memories.
Yeah, bad memories. Don't watch that episode. Anyway, I also watched Superman, the animated series. DC Animated Universe. What can I say? I was initially not going to watch this show because I'm not a big Superman fan, but it's like, what am I going to do? Watch, like, the 6 other shows in the DC Animated Universe and just not watch this one because I'm prejudiced against Superman? Nah, I'm not going to do that. So I started watching it, and actually pretty pleasantly surprised. It's really good. Like, all my fears about, like, oh, well, he's Superman, so the stories are going to be really boring, they're kind of alleviated because they definitely do a lot of really interesting things with the character and put him in situations where it's not just, like, he can punch the hardest he can.
Right.
Like, at first I was like, well, what kind of villain is Lex Luthor to Superman? Like, Superman's super strong, he could do anything. Like, why is this businessman that's voiced by Mr. Krabs, like, what is this guy gonna do? But the whole thing with him as his arch rival is that Lex is not a villain that can just be punched away. He's a shady business guy that makes other people do his dirty work and has ways of making things not connected to him. Superman can't just go punch him. Superman can't throw him in jail because he can't convict him on anything. So that's why Lex is a really interesting villain for Superman, specifically because he's not super strong. If he was just, General Zod or some other super strong guy, Superman could just go in and punch him. Like, but he can't do that. So anyway, I'm about halfway into that series. I gotta say, for the Last Kryptonian, there sure are a lot of other Last Kryptonians still in existence. They pull out, like, so there's these evil Kryptonians that were in jail in the negative zone that get pulled out for an episode. There's Supergirl, which is his cousin, I think. I haven't gotten to that episode yet. There's also Brainiac, who does not come from Krypton, but he lived on Krypton for a while, and he claims to also be, like, the last Kryptonian with Superman. There's a lot of last Kryptonians, is all I'm saying. Zod hasn't shown up in the series. I don't know if he's in the show, but he's also allegedly the last Kryptonian, so I don't know, man. But no, Superman the animated series, it's definitely not as good or stylized as Batman the animated series, but it still is some pretty quality writing, and they start to bring in members of the Justice League early here, before the Justice League was actually a thing. So I am very glad that I'm watching it to get that kind of like backstory, and I've definitely grown a lot more appreciation for Superman. So, yep.
Yeah, I remember liking it when I used to watch it.
Nice. I'm building up my way to Justice League, which will tie into something in a few weeks, which we'll talk about later. Lea, what have you been watching?
Well, I watched some Adventure Time, because that's what we're talking about today. But I also watched Carmen Sandiego recently, the Netflix series.
Ooh.
And it's actually surprisingly good. Like, it's a hit or miss with me for the Netflix shows. But I think that this one has a lot of potential to it. I mean, there were some weak points in it, especially with the supporting cast. But I think besides that, it's setting itself up to be like a really, really good show with like a really complex storyline. It's really great. And I don't want to like spoil it for you guys if you haven't seen it. But there's this really big plot twist at the end that I really think changes the entire tone of the story that they're setting up. So I'm really excited for season 2.
Let's say I haven't watched this show and I've only seen the Carmen Sandiego trivia show back in the good old days, with the acapella theme song. No, what's the show about? Like, it's Carmen Sandiego's a thief?
Yeah, so basically what it is, and this is in the first episode, so it's not really spoilery, but basically in this one, Carmen Sandiego was an orphan that grew up on Vile Island, and Vile is the name of the thief organization. And essentially, she found out that they were villains.
Well, Vile is an anagram for evil.
I know, but she didn't know that apparently. It's explained better in the story. She didn't know that they were evil. so she found out after one of her friends tried killing somebody, and she was just like, excuse me, basically. So she left, and she dedicated her life to bringing Vile down. So that's kind of what it is
Oh.
every single episode she's going through and stopping Vile from either stealing things or just doing crimes in general. So it's really interesting because as it's going about it, you're also learning about her past, and you're just learning about how awful Vile is, like, as an organization. And it's of to note here that she's also not part of any organization. She's by herself with Zach Ivy and her hacking person who's named Player. And then I know it's a really weird name.
With an R or just like Playa?
It's with an R, just like Player, like a video game player.
She's a vigilante.
I'm a video game player. So.
Basically, yeah, she is. But it's really interesting because Acme is in it as well, but they're not on her side. They're like hunting her down to try and see what she knows about Vile, basically. But that's what the show is, and it has like a really, really good twist at the end because the whole thing is like Carmen's trying to find out about her past because since she was an orphan, she doesn't know like who rescued her or who brought her to the island that Vile was on. So it's kind of like a mystery thing, and it is revealed at the end who did save her, but it's like not who you would expect. It's really great.
Is there any educational content?
Oh yeah, no, they usually have like a little segment at the beginning of each episode that's like 3 minutes long that goes over like some brief history of the area that they're in, which is really nice. I think that's a
cool.
great callback.
Yeah, because that's what originally the games were for, teaching kids how to know locations.
Right.
Yeah, and there's this one part where they talk about Uluru in Australia, and that was really nice. They also talked about the Magna Carta in one episode, so they give like a good amount of trivia at the beginning of each episode.
Is it like the Legends of the Hidden Temple?
No.
Where they spend 2 minutes with Olmec explaining a historical event?
Actually,
the Machu Picchu, founded in 1867, hid this magical sphere in a mysterious temple. Yeah, Monsters, you know all of that was complete lies, right?
Some of it was real.
I mean, loosely based on...
Some of the artifacts were completely made up, but yeah.
Is the Shrine of the Silver Monkey real?
I don't believe so, unfortunately.
Not to derail you, Leia, but that's really cool.
Oh, it's fine.
That's
yeah, it's great.
I don't know, Netflix seems to want to go for those like semi-educational animated shows like Magic School Bus.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's one of them because it's also... It kind of... I don't really know how to explain this, but it's also not afraid to take on, like, more serious topics, even though, like, it's trying to be educational, and obviously it's more focused towards, like, kids or teens. Mm-hmm. But they're also... It's kind of like Steven Universe in that it's not afraid to take on, like, certain subjects or certain things that the villains are doing. Like, a lot of things that Vile are doing are... not, no pun intended, really vile, like they're really bad. Mm-hmm. So,
are they supplying
I'm just glad.
Are they supplying arms to countries at war?
Well, no, but they did try and wipe out the rice fields of India to essentially starve them to death to try and get them to buy imitation rice from them just to make a quick buck. So that's one of the things that they did.
Is Vile Nestle?
And this is a kids show? Yeah,
it's like aimed towards like kids and teens. I mean, I guess like as an adult you could watch it too. I mean, obviously if you want to watch it whenever you want to. But yeah, it's more aimed towards like teens, I would say. But it's a great show regardless. It's like one of those shows that you could watch, but it doesn't really matter.
Right.
All right, neat. Did you see that JonTron video?
I did.
Any opinions?
I mean, I have the bell notification on for JonTron, so you can imagine I literally clicked it as soon as I got the notification. I mean, I find all of his videos funny personally. It's not one of my top favorite videos that he made, but I still enjoyed it, so.
Yeah, it was weaker, but it's still interesting. Okay. Disney Plus. Yeah.
Oh boy, Woo! Here we go.
When was the last time we talked about Disney?
But this is good. We need a Disney segment on this show.
I know.
But I mean, really, that could just cover anything.
Yeah, maybe Disney will buy the recast eventually.
I mean, to be fair, most of the stuff we like talk crap on are Cartoon Network shows.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, that's true. I mean, let's see. When Disney eventually buys out Google, then technically you will be working for Disney.
Right. And when Disney buys out Warner and Turner and Comcast. Anyway, back to the news. So someone recommended us a wonderful Twitter thread that kind of goes through a lot of the really important bullet points. So thank you very much to Dr. Forky, also known as @AnExperimentInQs, for summing everything up. Did a really good job. So we're going to kind of be using that as a little bit of a guide here. But yeah, there was... Now, Leia, you actually watched this, right?
I watched some of it. I came in later after they did something about Endgame.
Okay.
So I came in like halfway and then I left.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't watch... I didn't even know there was like a thing to watch. This was at their like Disney Expo thing, I think.
Yeah, it was like right on the Disney website. They were streaming it. But like the thing was is they only streamed like the talking parts. They didn't show like any of the art or any of the videos that they were showing. They would just cut the screen out.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, let's see. So it's coming out November 12th, which is still a ways away.
Yeah.
They've been talking about this for a while.
8 months?
Yeah.
No, 7 months.
Another big point is that it's going to be $7 a month or $70 a year, which...
That's really good.
Yeah, Netflix just upped its price to what, 13 or 14?
It's like 15, yeah.
Yeah. Also...
They're gonna have to lower that if they want to compete with Disney, because I already see a lot of people saying that they're gonna switch, so...
Yeah, I mean, I joked about goodbye Netflix, I'm just gonna buy the BoJack DVDs, but seriously, like, not just that it's $7 a month, but $70 a year. I'm just gonna pay the $70 and get it for a year. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
$70. Think about it like this. Like, let's say movie tickets in your area are $10. All right, let's just say that. That's I guess an approximation. Mine are definitely more than that. That means you'd have to see 7 movies for the same price that you pay to get access to Disney Plus. You could go see 7 movies in the theater, or you could stay home and watch, like, what, hundreds of movies?
Yeah, and like Disney owns so much at this point that they can basically put like whatever they want on there. I mean, with the exception of things that they don't own, obviously.
Right.
But like they own so much at this point that it's just like it might be worth it to get Disney Plus over Netflix, because Netflix doesn't have a lot of stuff. Even like they're going to be losing their Disney stuff, I would assume, once Disney Plus comes out.
Yes. And here's the thing. Like, I understand. Well, actually, I don't understand why anyone was down on this. Because, like, aside from the fact that Disney controls everything, like, I think that's a thing that's definitely worth criticizing.
That's my biggest issue.
No, that's definitely worth criticizing. But since Disney does own everything, this is the best possible outcome. Because they came out and they said, all right, look, we're going to have basically all of the Disney classics. Like, no more Disney Vault. They're just all going to be on there after a certain period of time. All the Pixar films, aside from the most recent ones, are going to be on there after a certain period of time. Marvel films, Star Wars, and then tons of like Disney Channel content, like Phineas and Ferb.
All the sitcoms, the DComs.
And new original properties based on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, pre-existing Disney shows, etc., etc. It's like, it's not just that Disney is going to have a lot of content, because... I mean, like, look, like, you know, the Boomerang app technically has 13,000 episodes. Whoa! But it's like, they're going to have so much content that's things that people actually want to watch. Like, Netflix and Hulu have a ton of filler content on there. No one is ever going to watch, like, some of the weird, obscure stuff. Netflix has just to say that they have, like, tons of content, right? Like, that's basically it. There are some things that no one is going to watch, but they have it because it looks better to have more things. Whereas, I'm not saying that everything Disney's ever done is, like, the highest of quality. But on average, this is a pretty high standard. For $70 to get access to this much content. It's nuts.
Yeah.
The DC streaming app it costs more than that. And that only has like 20 shows. Like,
yeah. Like, it's smart on their part too, because I mean, Disney and pretty much everyone realizes that, like, not having things that you can't stream, it's like you need to have that because everything else is going by the wayside at this point.
Because people will pirate it if they don't have it available for stream.
Exactly. Like, I don't buy DVDs anymore. the only time I would buy a DVD is when Steven Universe finishes off. Like, that's the only time I'm gonna buy it, and that's not even so I can watch it, it's so I can put it on my shelf. So, like...
Now you're talking the recast language.
Yeah, so, like, literally, so I'm sure that they realize that everybody's going, like, the subscription route, and I think that Netflix, being as successful as it is, kind of proves that at this point. Like, everybody wants to have it all in one place. We don't have to worry about having to buy them all separately. So, yeah, you're gonna have people that would rather pay the $70 a year than have to go out and pay whatever, like $20 or $15 for like a DVD,
or like $35 for a Blu-ray.
Yeah,
like
exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I'm pretty sure home media is already struggling and on its way out, but I feel like this Disney Plus streaming service is especially going to put a big dent into it. And if you've ever been to the store and looked at either Disney or Pixar DVDs and Blu-rays, they're usually quite expensive
because of the vault.
Usually above $20. Which is a lot compared to a lot of other titles. And like you mentioned before, just having access to all of this content for $70 a year is totally worth it.
Here's what they say. Year one of Disney Plus will have 25 plus original episodic series, 10 plus original movies and specials, 7,500 over 7,500 episodes of past episodes of shows that are already in existence, over 100 recent films, and over 400 library films. Like,
that's just year one.
Yes, and Disney could stop there. Disney could just say, but see, here's what I really appreciate, is that Disney really could squeeze blood from a stone here. Disney could say, here's your Pixar streaming service, $10 a month. You get every Pixar film, $10. And honestly, I mean, that's kind of a sucky deal, but those are good movies, so people would pay it at least for a few months. They could say, here's all your Marvel movies, $10 a month. Here's the Disney classics, $10 a month. Here's the new Disney movies, like Frozen. Oh, you want to buy Frozen? It's on its own streaming service. It's just a Frozen streaming service.
Yeah.
No, like I'm being a little hyperbolic, but they could do that, and they could charge up the wazoo, and people would still pay it.
Well, that's exactly it. With like Netflix, they have the different tiers where it's like, oh, pay this much, and you only this many people have access to your account, and if you pay way extra, then you have 4K. This is just one set price, and they have everything included, including 4K.
Yep.
I think they also know that they need to compete with Netflix too, because Netflix is like the behemoth of the streaming industry right now. I mean, I think Disney Plus definitely has the potential to overpass it, and I think it probably will. But just saying, like, they might reach that eventually, but they're definitely not doing that right now. They're playing the safe route, which is good on them. So.
Yeah, and I mean, like, let's not be too positive. Let's be real in that, like, Netflix's price has been kind of encroaching. It's very possible that Disney's going to lure us in with this nice cheap price, get us all accustomed to the service, and then jack it up. That probably will happen. But honestly, even at $13 or $14 a month, it still isn't a bad deal in my eyes.
No, it isn't.
And they're doing the same thing as Netflix in expanding their library. Netflix had to build their entire brand from scratch. Disney has all of this stuff and IP already, and they're building upon it.
And let's not forget, like people are like, oh no, Disney movies are leaving Netflix, and it's like, okay, sure, Disney movies are leaving Netflix. But, like, you get, when Disney movies were on Netflix, like, at least just on Marvel's scale, you got I think it was the most recent 2 movies after, like, 8 months after they came out. Like, that's kind of what you got. And then when a new one came out, the old one cycled out. So it's not like all this Disney content was just on Netflix. I still see this as, like, yes, if you're paying for Netflix, yes, you will lose these Disney movies. But, like, we never had it as good as this will be. It's not like Disney's just saying, well, we're just taking what you already had on Netflix and making you pay for it. No, they're giving a service that is a lot more than that. I really am, honestly, kind of angry with, like, those news sources and those people that are like, there's too many streaming services. Meh, meh, meh. It's like, okay, in general, maybe. But Disney Plus is the best thing that you could want from a streaming service. If you're upset that Disney Plus exists, then don't, like, you don't have to have all of the streaming services, right? Like you could unsubscribe to Netflix for a month and then get Disney Plus for a month. None of these things have contracts.
Yeah.
Well, the thing also, too, like, if you were to pay for just cable, you'd probably be paying more just to see these things. And also with cable, they're not playing the things that you want to see all the time. They're playing whatever is on their network for that day. So it's just like, okay, you have to pay a fee, which isn't as much as for cable is. You can choose what you want, and you can watch whatever you want, whenever you want. So, I mean, I think it's an equal trade-off, because obviously that's going to be the main way of entertainment pretty soon, is just going to be streaming services. So, you know,
And
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's another option. That's ultimately what it is. It's, again, if Disney were to come out with 6 streaming services and say, like, here's your Disney Classics, here's your Pixar, then I would say, okay, well, Disney is really trying to, like, split the market, and they're trying to have it too many ways, and it's not going to work. And I can see why people are upset that there's so many. But, like, at least when it comes to Disney, Disney isn't the one that's doing wrong here. And it kind of upsets me to see people, like, when they come out and they have all of this content, and it's just like, okay, then unsubscribe from Netflix if you only want Disney stuff. Like, I don't... Until these companies, until these streaming services start locking us into contracts, you can do whatever you want with these things. You can unsubscribe for a month. Right?
Yeah.
And I know that's like, oh, it's a hassle, you got to do that. But it's like, I don't know, man. It's $70. And honestly, after Disney Plus, maybe I will unsubscribe from Netflix and Hulu. Maybe I will just have Disney Plus, because that's like way more entertainment than I'll ever be able to consume.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they'll have so much on there.
It just kind of sunk into my head that really, at least for what I'm paying for Netflix, Disney Plus is half as much.
Monsters, you could pay for my subscription to Disney Plus. Unsubscribe
Yeah,
from
I could.
Netflix, and then we each get one. That's a win-win.
Yeah. But it's just crazy. And don't forget, Disney just acquired Fox. So they're going to have access to all that stuff.
Oh,
and
The Simpsons. Oh, yeah, sorry. I forgot to mention The Simpsons.
Yeah, and with them acquiring Fox, they also now have I believe, a majority stake in Hulu, which brings up a lot of interesting discussions. And I mean, again, this kind of, I'm not the biggest fan of Disney, and ultimately I would prefer, I mean, at one point in time, Netflix was more of a curator than like a production house, but now they're kind of switching gears. It is nice to have a curator because they're, I guess, more of a middleman.
Right.
But I don't know. I really want to be cynical about it, but I really can't see too many negatives in this scenario.
Also, don't forget about the 250 hours of National Geographic content.
Ooh, all my documentaries.
I mean,
There you
we
go.
joke, but that's something legitimately that I would watch, because I've watched it in the past. The only live action I will watch.
Do you guys want to talk about some of the original projects they've got?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So, you thought Phineas and Ferb was dead? Nah, man, it's back. With a new movie. Candace Against the Universe.
Yeah, isn't Milo Murphy's Law getting canceled?
I wish.
I'm pretty sure I read that it was.
I think that was a rumor.
I've heard some things about it, but I'm pretty sure it was
Yeah.
a rumor. I don't think there's been
Don't quote me on that.
I did hear
Yeah.
that, but I'm pretty sure it was a rumor or an April Fool's joke or something. I think stuff will continue to fall down. I'm so mean to that show. As long as they can keep doof on it, I'm sure it's lucrative to Disney. But yeah, no,
Right.
I mean, I'm happy they're not like rebooting Phineas and Ferb, but
You never know.
well, you know what? People really, really like Phineas and Ferb, so I can understand why they'd want to do this. Personally, I feel like I've gotten everything I'd ever want out of Phineas and Ferb from like 2 seasons of the show. But hey, that's lucrative, and that's like a project that I would not have expected necessarily to come out of Disney Plus, so that's cool.
I mean, it's arguably Disney's most popular animated series from the 21st century.
It's kind of like their SpongeBob, I would say.
Well, Shadow and I were talking about Shadow Streak and I were talking about Kingdom Hearts, and we were talking about like what Disney Channel show would you like to be represented if they were to move to TV as well? And I was like, I want Gravity Falls so bad, but I know they would do Phineas and Ferb. If there's
Right.
if there's
yeah.
a Disney cartoon that they feel like represents them in the new 10s, that would probably be Phineas and Ferb.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting if they decided to do like a Kingdom Hearts show or something. I don't know if they could.
Ooh.
Would it be
But-
as cringy?
Listen.
Maybe.
I'm feeling simple and clean right now, so don't wreck that for me.
Uh,
Anyway, we also have Lamp Life, a new Pixar short film about Bo Peep set between Toy Story Dos and Toy Story Quattro.
wow.
I did not expect that. Some of these things I'm just reading about now. That's
Yeah, I know that there was the Forky one. I didn't know about the Bo Peep one. I knew about the Forky one.
Yeah, I mean, hey, like, that's fine. I'm all for a little more Pixar, and if they can maybe justify Bo Peep's change in character a little more, that's good. That's not a
There was
down.
actually a Bo Peep trailer that actually just dropped today, like right before this.
Oh.
I mean, it basically just showed the stuff from the first trailer, but there was some more stuff in there.
The Imagineering Story, a documentary about, here you go, monsters, about Walt Disney Imagineering, directed by Leslie DreamWorks.
That's cool.
What in the Disney Plus? Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right. Are you ready, monsters?
Are we all in
I
this
know
together?
I know what he's gonna say.
Yes. Why is this not the first time we've talked about High School Musical on the recast? Why does this keep coming up?
I don't know.
All right, anyway, High School Musical, the series. It's about high schoolers performing a high school production of High School Musical.
High School Musical, the series, the High School Musical,
The soundtrack.
the soundtrack,
There will be the soundtrack, undoubtedly.
the streaming service.
The game. The VR experience.
The book.
Why not? You know what? Why not? Sure. It's not for me.
I mean,
I don't
people have
care.
been begging for a new High School Musical since the last one came out.
Let's be honest. Well, I guess, I don't know. I guess, what's her name? Ashley Tisdale's got nothing better to do, so she's like Disney Plus draw since she's getting a Candace movie, and I don't know if she'll be a part of this, but
I think this is going to be a new cast of kids.
yeah, but she might
I
cameo.
would think so.
As,
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I mean, like, from the title alone, it's clear they're tongue-in-cheek, so sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's not something I would probably watch. But then again, if they parody what it's actually like to be in a musical in high school, I might watch that because, man, there's a lot of drama. I know from firsthand, there's a lot of drama in drama productions.
I really liked Glee, and Glee is almost like
Why?
High School Musical-ish show, except it deals with a lot more adult subject matters.
Oh, you mean no one was teen pregnant in a High School Musical and had their baby stolen by their teacher's infertile wife? That didn't happen in High School
What?
Musical?
I have never seen Glee, so this is very
Leia,
love
that's
Glee.
just the
to
first
me.
season of Glee. Listen, the
Glee's a really good show.
no, it's not. But the
Yes, it
first
is.
season of it was pretty good because it was like more parody based. The rest of the show kind of went on to just become the thing it was making fun of. But anyway, what else we got? We've got
You skipped over the live-action Lady and the Tramp.
yep. Why?
This will be available on day one.
There's no escaping
There's
it.
probably a reason.
The funny thing,
You
yeah, no, they
can't-
say live-action Lady and the Tramp. Does that mean that there's not going to be animals, or is it going to be live-action as in the Lion King remake
It's gonna be-
live-action?
I'm pretty sure Lion King.
It's gonna be about furries.
Oh no.
Kai, no.
We have Noelle, a holiday comedy starring Anna Kendrick and Bill Hader as Santa's kids. Wah,
They're
wah.
making their own Hallmark. They need to compete with Hallmark.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that Lori Laughlin's no longer there.
Timmy Failure, based upon a book series. I've never heard of this.
No.
Stargirl, a coming-of-age film based upon that book series. Anyone?
No.
All right.
No.
Togo, a dog sledding film starring Willem Dafoe. My man, the Green Goblin himself. I don't...
Have you seen that one Disney movie with Cuba Gooding Jr. where it's like
Snow Dogs?
Snow Dogs?
Oh, yes.
Is that what it's called?
Snow Dogs is a classic.
And there's like a Michael Bolton cameo that's really funny.
Yeah, Snow Dogs is a classic.
Yeah.
All right, so we got 4 Marvel shows, and I'm kind of excited about all of them.
Yeah, same here.
Not all the titles, though. So we've got WandaVision, which sounds like an episode of The Fairly Odd Parents, to be
Yeah.
It
honest.
does.
It's gonna be most likely a prequel to Infinity War about Wanda and Vision showing like how they actually fell in love between the events of Civil War and Infinity War.
In Scotland.
Yeah. I mean, I like Elizabeth Olsen and I like Paul Bettany. Man, am I like legitimately name dyslexic? I think I might be. I think it's just like insecurity at this point. I'm afraid to even try. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't know, like the Bo Peep thing, if they can flesh out these characters outside of the movies, that's fine. They're definitely not the most interesting Avengers, nor the ones that I would have been like, thrilled to make a series about, but
I agree.
But maybe that's a positive. Maybe because they're not as like focused in the movies, they have a little more creative freedom to kind of expand upon their characters in ways that you would not be able to with like Thor, because it's like,
Right.
you know.
And real quick, it totally makes sense to me now that that the Netflix Marvel shows were canceled, like Daredevil and Jessica Jones, because like not only was Disney pulling out of Netflix, but also, you know, why have those shows when you can have actual MCU shows?
Right. Yeah, not ones that just mention the green guy like every the incident in New York. It's like, dude, that battle was like the worst event in New York's history in that timeline, in that universe, and they're all just like, ooh, the incident. It's like, dude, aliens like destroyed half of your city. Like,
right.
you would reference that a little more than just calling it like the anyway. But yes, no, it's I will miss at least Daredevil and the Punisher, but yeah, I'm excited for these because these are more in line with the actual MCU. So we have, this is an exciting one. There's gonna be a Loki show that we don't have like any details about, but there were like long before this news came out, there was rumors that there was going to be a Loki show, and some of the I can't remember if this was like part of the leaked details or whether this was just speculation, but people were saying that it could be about Loki at the gates of Valhalla trying to get in and telling his story about potentially how he's done some good in the universe. So
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a really great use of the character and the mythology and everything. I don't know if that's the idea, but dude, more Loki is A-okay in my book.
Yeah, I agree.
There's going to be a show called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which again, Marvel needs to be better at.
That's a great
these
name.
names. No, it's not.
No, that was sarcasm.
It should be called Captain America's Two Best Buds. That's
yeah,
what,
no, exactly.
It should be called. Like, but
the Sidemen.
Yeah, not important enough to make a full movie about. Well, I mean, I guess the Winter Soldier had a movie titled about him, but at any rate, yeah, I'm excited for that. They had a really good chemistry in Civil War, so
yeah, I love both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Yep, and they got Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, so there's no like recasting or anything. Hopefully,
yeah. The great thing I love about those characters is like, as opposed to like Wanda or Vision, where it's a lot of like spells and magic and sorcery type stuff. Like they do physical action.
Right.
I mean, Falcon has like all of his devices and stuff, but like Winter Soldier's up in it, punching things and shooting. I find his action in combat really cool.
Right. I wonder where that one's set though, because at the end of Black Panther, it's revealed that what's his face? That the Winter Soldier is
Bucky.
Yeah, Bucky's just kind of coming out of his retirement then. So I don't really know when this would take place. It could take place after Avengers 4. Who knows? But considering these other ones seem to kind of maybe be like before Infinity War, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then there's gonna be a Hawkeye show, allegedly, and also that's what Variety says.
Oh, I'm reading there's a show called Marvel's What If.
Yeah, there's that too.
Oh.
Yeah, it's an anthology series that's animated and inspired by the comic series. I guess they want to get on DC's Legends of Tomorrow, probably.
That's the next thing they have to take over.
No,
animated superheroes.
But yeah, that's cool. What If comics have always been like pretty popular in Marvel's actual comics. They're just like, what if this character got this character's powers, or what if Captain America was Canadian? Whoa, wacky. But yeah, that's fun. Excited about all of it.
Right.
There's gonna be some documentary behind the scenes stuff about Marvel too. But yeah, anything Marvel related, I'm in. As we reported on last week, and as we've known about for a while, Monsters at Work is a thing, and I'm sure there's gonna be like other projects. But it's just like this is a lot. This is a lot to talk about.
I am always
It
at
is.
work.
I'm high-key hoping that they're gonna make like an Inside Out series.
Ooh.
Unpopular opinion, I wasn't a big fan of that movie.
Oh no, you weren't?
I wasn't
No.
either. This is not the time though.
Oh no. That's like one of my favorite movies. Why?
Because your opinion is trash, Leia. No,
Wow.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I know you are.
Okay.
It's fine.
I want to make sure the fans know I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, no. For like reference, we kid around with each other all the time.
Yeah.
He's not being serious.
Some of the other stuff.
The new Star Wars: The Clone Wars revival.
Oh, there you go, Monsters.
I'm looking forward to that. I tweeted about it at the Star Wars celebration, or was it? Whatever it was. At the same event where they were promoting Episode 9, they showed like a 3-minute teaser, and they put out a new trailer, and I cannot contain my excitement because I think already the 2008 series was fairly groundbreaking for television animation, and just the pure scale of everything and just the detail. I mean, a lot of people didn't like the theatrical movie that preceded it, but I think for television it had astounding quality. The sound was really good, and just so much environment, so many different locations. It was just kind of remarkable. And believe it or not, I feel like from the footage that they've shown, I mean, maybe they're just doing a sizzle reel of the best of what they have to offer, but it looks like they've amped it up a lot. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm sure I'm going to love it.
Nice. And all of the Simpsons will be there day one, although I'm curious if all of the Simpsons actually means all of the Simpsons or all of the Simpsons that Michael Jackson was not a part of.
Right. Yeah.
And the Star Wars prequels will be there day one. Thank everyone. Thank Lord,
Yes.
What's his name? Lord Hello there. Lord Obi-Wan. Lord Grievous.
Yeah, they showed some stuff for The Mandalorian, too, which is original Star Wars series that's coming to D+.
Is that what we're calling it now? D+?
That's what I'm calling it.
All right. So yeah, there you go. I mean, there's definitely more stuff to talk about, and I'm sure more news will come out. We'll be covering it as it happens. And I didn't even really think about this, Monsters, but Disney Plus is like really good for the recast, because this gives us like access to a lot of shows to talk about that might have been like too obscure for like live cast because we weren't sure if people have seen them. But
Right.
now, because I'm sure a lot of our fans are getting this service, we'll be able to kind of like do that a little more. I mean, not that we've been afraid to do obscure things previously, but now we can do things with a little more confidence that people have access to see it if they want to.
Right.
Can't wait for those Doug recasts.
Well, yeah, how about Nickelodeon's Doug?
well,
That's what I thought you were talking about.
you got a Shout Factory that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. In other news, Steven Universe did something, Leia.
Yeah, so Steven Universe got a Peabody Award, and just to give you guys like a definition of what it is, it's to honor the most powerful, enlightening, and invigorating stories in television, radio, and online media. So essentially, they won the 2018 Children's winner.
Did they get it for an episode or for the show as a whole?
I think it's just the show as a whole, because on the website, this is what it says. It says, on the service, Rebecca Sugar's animated series develops a complex mythology centering around the crystal gems, polymorphic sentient rocks, who protect young Steven and his human friends from cosmic threats. But in this earnest fantasy, epic, and a superhero saga, empathy is perhaps the most important superpower, something our real-world human society needs now more than ever. So that's what their little blurb on that was. So that was just announced today, like about, I would say like an hour before we started recording, that they won that. And then they also won the GLAAD Award a few weeks ago. So they're doing pretty good right now.
Don't a lot of these shows win awards once they're over?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that the show is going to be over anytime soon. We still got the movie in season 6, but...
Okay. Listen,
I feel like every single time I talk to you, you're just like, Steven Universe is ending, and I'm just like, it's not though.
I'm agnostic to the season 6 and beyond of Steven Universe. It might exist, but it might not.
I can tell you with certainty that season 6 exists.
All right, Leia is in season 6 of Steven Universe, confirmed.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, my gem Sona's in there. She's in the background watching all this happen.
Oh god, is that what the rest of the show's gonna be? Steven meets all these uncorrupted gems that are just horrible, or excuse me, wonderful OCs made by.
Wow. I was gonna say you're gonna have to tell that to Nikki too.
I can't break her heart. All right.
She's probably gonna see this. I'm gonna show it to her.
Okay. Anyway, in some not as happy news, The Missing Link, the Leica film, scored only 5.8 million from its opening weekend at the box office.
Well, what's its production budget?
1 million. No, I don't know that that's been revealed yet.
I would assume a lot because it's stop motion, right?
Definitely more than 5.8 million.
Yeah, no, definitely. Especially anything animated, it's gonna be up there.
Dude, 5.8 million is like probably not even what Disney spends on marketing of like, I don't know, even Dumbo. Like, marketing's expensive.
Oh yeah. I feel really bad for this movie. I haven't seen it yet just because I don't have a movie theater near me. The closest one to me is like an hour and a half away. So if I'm gonna go see a movie, it's one that I'm hyped up for. And I feel like the reason why this movie did poorly was because the marketing for it was like god awful. Like the only trailers that I saw were really, really awful. I don't think, from what I'm hearing, it didn't match the tone of what the movie was actually about, and also the scenes that were shown were kind of just like haha cheap humor.
Right, slapsticky stuff like, oh, his pants fell off, lol.
Yeah, so it's just like, I feel like what they could have done was they shouldn't have been afraid to go like the non-comedic route, because from what I'm hearing, it's not a comedy-centered movie. So if they wanted to actually show what the actual movie was about and showcase more of the animation that everyone was saying was so breathtaking that actually saw it, I think it would have done a lot better. But they didn't do that because they wanted to play it safe and go, oh, haha, funny kids movie. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing that makes this movie unique is that it's the first Leica movie that wasn't distributed by Focus Features, according to what I'm reading on Wikipedia. So,
always trustful Wikipedia.
Yeah. No. So every movie before this, like Coraline, Box Trolls, Kubo, whatever, those were distributed through Focus Features, and this one was distributed through United Artists Releasing. So I guess if there's anyone to blame for poor marketing, it's them.
Good old ER.
Oh yeah. I mean, I wasn't blaming the studio itself, but you know what I mean.
Well,
right.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is not to rub it in or anything. It was more just that the conversation, and I will say the conversation's kind of swung back the other way as more people have presented the opinion that I'm about to share. The conversation was like, people aren't supporting original films and are complaining about reboots and are hypocrites. And now, you know, we talk about reboots a little bit on this show. We're a little in the know about these things, but no, but like, I don't think it's fair at all to hold up this film and to say like, well, this film did poorly, so clearly originality can't do anything.
Yeah,
like,
that was really getting me angry too.
That's a wild hot take. Like, because it's like, yeah, the marketing, I think at best, I think my exact words were like, it looked meh. Like, it looked like something that could potentially be good, but like, if I'm going to go see a movie, I don't see many movies out in the theater in a year. If I'm going to go see it, it has to be something that I really want to see. I'm not the person, I don't have a friend group that like goes to the movies every week.
I don't either.
Right? Some people do, and some people, you know, if I did, I'd certainly be seeing this film. But I only
like if I have a
yeah.
If I had a movie theater like 10 minutes from my house, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, an hour and a half away, the closest one to me, I'm not gonna go see a movie that I think I may or may not enjoy.
Right. Movie theater near me is expensive. I'm not going to drop $15, $16, maybe $17, depending on how I see this film, if it's in Dolby or whatever. I'm not going to drop that on a film that I'm like, this could be good, this could be bad. And yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because I do want to support original animation. And now that I have heard people say that they like this film, maybe I will go and see it. But I think the marketing is clearly the reason why this film just didn't do so hot at the opening box office. And also the timing. Like, look at the timing. It's a movie that's coming out right before, like, the biggest movie event of our lifetime.
Yeah.
Potentially. You know what I mean? Like, Avengers 4 is huge. Avengers 4 is huge. Detective Pikachu's only a few weeks away. Like,
yeah.
You know, I just... And also, historically, what were you, April? That's not like necessarily a huge time for movies. Anyway, this isn't like a summer, you know, they're not hitting up the time when kids are off from school specifically. I guess maybe on spring break, but like...
Yeah, I do feel, though, that, like, competition might be a bit more tense during that time. So maybe
Yeah.
they were, like, maybe they saw an opening and were like, oh, maybe we can take advantage of this.
They probably didn't want to compete with Toy Story.
Right.
Probably not.
Yeah. In terms of me not supporting original animation, I also don't support reboot animation either, because I don't really go to see animated movies at the
Monsters
theaters.
doesn't watch anything.
I probably should more. I mean, I supported Spider-Verse as much as I could.
Yeah, I mean, we all did that. Not that, I mean, obviously that's based off of comics, and that is
Right.
a big studio and all that,
But the point was, it was different.
it was
And that's the
original,
thing.
yes.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
want
what
to
I said,
support.
yeah.
I want to support things that are different. I want to support things that are incorporating more traditional forms of animation. But the thing is, and I mean, I know that people have had generally favorable reviews on it, but like, if it's not good, I mean, I'm not going to support it if it's not good. But at the same time, I feel bad because I want more content like this to be released.
Well, and I kept wanting to call this movie Smallfoot, which is so bad that the marketing that I'm confusing it with the other, like,
Zendaya is Michi.
abominable monster movie that came out in the past year.
Yeah. There's been quite a few of those.
Yeah.
I mean, so like, and also it's like, I don't want to support, I don't want to be like, you must support originality at all costs. Doesn't matter that you don't want to see
Right.
the movie, go see it. It's like, that's a terrible way of thinking, and it's also not
Right.
practical. Like we said, there's real practical reasons why people don't go to see movies. Money, time, like the distance to drive to the theater, the fact that they want to see something else. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I'm seeing this movie on principle. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
don't see movies like that.
I don't think anything that we're doing is really hypocritical.
No, it's
and that's
not.
like if I saw a 2D traditionally animated movie come out in theaters, I mean, I'd want to support it because really, when you look at it, executives speak in money.
Yeah.
So if they see that it's doing well at the box office, they're like, we need more of that. But if it's not good, then that's also telling them a message.
Right, well, what are the last two 2D movies that came out? Okay, Teen Titans Go to the Movies and My Little Pony, two series that are hugely controversial. Like,
Yeah.
like,
And the second SpongeBob movie, which was only partial.
and
Yeah.
also years ago at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not that this conversation was about 2D, but I feel like it's, people talk about it in the same way. But yeah, no, honestly, like, the people that were being smug about this movie, convince me to see the movie. Don't sit here on your high horse and like, well, I saw original animation. Did you? It's like, tell me why I should
Yeah, because
see
that's
this
what
movie.
it feels like.
Yeah.
That's what it feels more like. It was more, oh, you guys keep saying how you want to have all this new animation, but you're not going and doing anything about it. But they're not telling us why we should go and see it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we want more different types of animation, but at the same time, like Monsters was saying, why should we support bad things? Because then it's also showing that, like, we don't care the quality of the content as long as it's animated in a different way. So
Mhm.
then, it's just like, if a movie, we need to be convinced to go see this movie because the marketing made it look like it was bad.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know. It
Yeah,
just
that's a good
that
way
was
to
getting me
explain it.
heated too.
Mm-hmm. All right, but yeah, no, like, since the first day that came out, there have been other people that have kind of been saying what we've been saying on Twitter, and I'm happy to see that. I just say that because by the time this comes out, I don't want it to seem like we're like hopping on the already now popular opinion.
Yeah.
Right. But
I mean, I've been saying this because somebody posted something. I was like, "What?" I was like, "What are you talking about?
Mhm.
Like, that's not how this works."
Yep.
Nothing but hot takes on the recast.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we have a question of the week from a guy named Crystal. How much of a series do you think is necessary to watch before judging the quality of the series itself, whether it be a show with an ongoing story with a heavy emphasis on continuity like Avatar: The Last Airbender, or a goofy comedy series where most episodes are detached from one another like SpongeBob?
I mean, I think it's on personal preference, but for me, it's like the first season, I would say.
You invest a whole season?
I mean, I try to unless it's really, really awful. If it's like so awful that I literally cannot keep my focus more than 2 episodes, then
Mhm.
no.
Yeah,
But-
to be fair, I mean, nowadays seasons are getting shorter and shorter. They're like,
Yeah.
I mean, Steven Universe notwithstanding, for a lot of shows, it's easy to watch it even in one day. If there's like 8-episode season, 10-episode season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, when it comes to comedy series, I don't even really watch that many that are like pure comedy anymore. Those don't really hold my attention much.
No.
So yeah, I mean, with comedy series, it's like, honestly, it could be as simple as like 2 episodes, because
Oh yeah.
it's like, if I didn't laugh in those 2 episodes, it's not worth my time. And honestly, if it's a comedy series, I'll maybe go and watch like a more recent episode. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like a decent example of this is Gumball, where I wasn't particularly warm on the first few episodes, but I do very much appreciate like season 3 onwards, season 4 onwards. So yeah, for a comedy, I really don't mind bouncing around too much, although I'd like to watch it in order. But yeah, it's as simple as like, did it make me laugh? If not, then I don't care if it's gonna be that comedy based. With a continuity series like Avatar, it really depends on how much the show has been recommended to me, I guess. Like, you know what I mean? Like Steven Universe was recommended to me a lot. Like a lot, to the point where, I mean, I liked the show even from the early stuff, although retroactively it's not as interesting. But like, I would have stuck around for maybe like 10 or 20 episodes of Steven Universe, even if I wasn't crazy into it, just on the word of mouth. So for me, a continuity show, it does kind of depend on how it was recommended to me. How about you, Monsters?
Well, in regards to the question, I think when you only watch a couple episodes, you're kind of falling into first impressions territory. But to get a real comprehensive opinion or judgment on the overall quality of the show, I just developed as a rule of thumb 5 random episodes per season. So 5 randomly picked episodes per season, just because 5 is, I guess, more than one. Random, I guess, kind of spreading it apart. And per season, because, there's some shows that start off poor but get better as they go on.
Mm-hmm.
There's some shows that start off great and then get worse. So if you want to be able to kind of describe or judge the series overall, I think that provides a pretty good depiction. And, you know, it could just be coincidence that maybe there's a season that's generally pretty good and you just so happen to pick 5 of the bad episodes, but I feel like the likelihood of that happening is pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, chances are if there are 5 bad episodes out of the season you pick, that might just be a bad season.
Fair.
So,
and I mean, I was speaking on just personal preference in terms of like watching it for a review. If I'm gonna review the whole, at least one season, I would say.
Yeah, that's more like what I was talking on. Like, if you're gonna like judge it on the full quality, that's why I said at least like a season.
Mm-hmm.
right.
I mean, if you're gonna decide if you're gonna keep watching it or not, like specifically with comedy, yeah, if the first few episodes don't make you laugh, then obviously it's not your thing.
Unless it changes. Like, I wouldn't judge The Simpsons comedy based upon that first season.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Or the latest season. But again, I mean, yeah, where it comes down to for me is it's just kind of like, I watch a lot of things based upon recommendation because I'm lucky enough to have the following that I have, so I have people on Twitter telling me to watch things. So, you know, it's like if 100 people recommend I watch Gumball, which a lot of people did, typically there's something to it, right? And if I watch the first few episodes and I'm like, this isn't good, typically it's like, okay, well, it's probably because the more recent episodes are better. So yeah, thank you for the question, Crystal. Anything else, guys?
Nope. Thanks for the question.
I don't think so. Yeah, that was a good question.
Okay, next week, we can't actually tell you what we were talking about. We're kind of waiting on our guest to see what his availabilities are. But it's probably something that you might be able to guess. Because we haven't covered it in a while.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll go through. But since I can't tell you what's going on next week, I will tell you what's going on kind of 2 weeks from now. So, next week, or I guess at the very end of this week, Avengers is coming out. So we've decided next week's show is not going to be the Avengers show, because that would mean we'd probably record it before having seen Endgame, and it would release only like 2 days after the movie comes out. So
Exactly.
instead, the episode that's going to go up on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. That episode is going to be our big Avengers blowout. We're going to do an Avengers themed episode. Like, we're going to talk about Avengers episodes. I'm still kind of trying to pick episodes of either Avengers shows or Marvel shows. I've got some ideas. I'm still working on which ones, but we're definitely going to do something Marvel related in terms of the featured discussion. And most likely the rest of the show is just going to be us talking about Endgame. We're going to do a spoiler cast where we'll give you a warning up front. And we might have some surprise guests in there. Who knows? But yeah, that's going to be the big Avengers blowout. So this week's show and next week's show, well, I guess this week's show's like half over, but don't worry about us spoiling Endgame. Even after next week's show, I might have seen it by the time we record, might not, but even if I have, I won't say anything. You know, we're very sensitive about spoilers on this show. We're very careful. I mean, when it regards to things that are brand new, at least.
Right.
But yeah, no, we will give ample warning. And also, just anyone that follows me on Twitter, I'm not going to be saying anything about the movie on Twitter at all. I will save all of my impressions for that Cinco de Mayo cast. So we'll talk about it pretty extensively. It's going to be a good time. But yeah, I just wanted to give that a heads up in case anyone was afraid that next week we're going to jump into it or whatever. Like, we have not forgotten, but we just thought it would be better timing to do it like a week after Avengers come out.
Yes.
So yeah, I can't tell you what we're talking about next week yet. However, once I get that go-ahead from the guest, or I guess the no-go from the guest, we will be announcing what we're talking about next week, either on Twitter or on the Discord. So when we know, we will allow you to talk about it and all that. It's just that we want to make sure we don't like promise this is coming and it doesn't happen because it's not April Fool's. We can't play it off like that. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so time for our featured discussion. Now,
Adventure time.
It's adventure time.
Lea, what's your experience with Adventure Time, like, before this cast?
Okay, so I watched this show back when I was in like middle school, and I still have my algebraic t-shirt, and I remember it because it's green and it has Finn and Jake on the front of it. But like, I stopped watching it before it got really plot heavy. So, like, I haven't seen it, I would say, since it stopped being entirely goofy.
Okay. So you watched the first
but
season. No.
Basically, I guess.
Probably the first 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Did you know about... Because I didn't prime you with anything. I just said watch these
No.
episodes.
Yeah.
The only thing I said to make sure Lea would come on the podcast and talk about these episodes was I said Rebecca Sugar wrote both these episodes, which is true.
Yep.
She co-wrote them.
That's what it was. Yep.
And then you were like, "Yep, I'm on board." Have you seen an episode called Holly Jolly Secrets? It's the Christmas episode.
I have not, no.
Okay. So just for context for you and for anyone else at home, up until this point, the only I Remember You, like, in the I want to say, yeah, it's in the 3rd season. Holly Jolly Secrets is the episode where Finn and Jake discover that the Ice King used to be a man named Simon back in our time who got possessed by the crown. That's the only information. Everything else from I Remember You about his relationship with Marceline, a little more details about kind of like how he went crazy, like all that stuff. That's new to this episode. So although it kind of had been established a little bit beforehand, I Remember You is original in his relationship with Marceline.
That makes sense.
I just thought that was important to point out, that I didn't leave out. Like, the only lore thing you really could have benefited from is maybe Holly Jolly Secrets Part 2, but I would argue that, well, I'm not even going to argue. I Remember You is a much better episode than Holly Jolly Secrets, and Holly Jolly Secrets in and of itself is not that great. It's just the reveal at the end. Okay, so I Remember You is an episode about the Ice King wanting to write a dope song to impress princesses, and he goes to Marceline, who makes the dopest of songs. And it turns out that in trying to make his song, he gets a little, I guess, existential about his existence.
Yeah.
And Marceline seems to have some relationship with him, but we don't really know what. And it's revealed through the song and through newspaper clippings that Simon wrote on that Marceline and Simon were 2 of, like, the only survivors of the apocalypse, the Great Mushroom War, as they call it. And Simon used to be her father figure.
That episode was super emotional.
Yes. It's a very non-conventional episode in that honestly, I Remember You feels almost like a Steven Universe episode because
it does.
Yeah, it's nothing but crying and singing.
I was gonna, I mean, you're not wrong. It's literally crying and singing. I was gonna make that joke because Rebecca Sugar literally has a show that's based off of crying and singing. And then that's literally what that episode was. So it fits her perfectly, but also like, and I know I've said this before, but it reminded me a lot of Rose's Scabbard because it started out like innocent and fine.
Yeah.
And like kind of funny. And then all of a sudden it just like, I wouldn't say devolves because that's not the correct word, but
nosedives.
Yeah, it just turns from something like goofy and lighthearted into something that's like so emotional and deep, and it's just like, what happened?
I think,
but it's in such a good way though.
Yes, and I think a part of it, the misdirection is that like Ice King, we know he likes kidnapping princesses. He's always trying to kiss them and stuff. So you think that the reason why Marceline is upset is because the Ice King is like weird and kind of inappropriate.
A pervert.
Yeah, okay, that's one way to say it. Right? Like that's kind of what you're thinking until the episode kind of slaps you with like, she's upset because he keeps finding her and is like a reminder of the man that she used to know, and it's sad.
Yeah, and
it's
he's completely
really,
senile.
really sad.
Yeah. Oh man. The episode starts out, if you guys remember, with him singing Gunter, Why Did You Goont My Fries, which is a play on Marceline's famous song, Daddy, Why Did You Eat My Fries, which Rebecca Sugar wrote. She wrote, that was her first episode. What was that? Return to the Nightiverse? Escape from the... Oh, my Adventure Time trivia's getting rusty. Anyway, at any rate, the interesting thing about that song, actually, is because Ice King parodied it in Holly Jolly Secrets as well, where he just kind of sang it. But this episode does it funnier because he's singing it with Gunter mixed in with all the words. But yeah, it starts off with such a silly place and such a like, oh man, this is going to be a wacky episode. Ice King's writing songs with Marceline. And then
you want to cry.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even like, I am not invested in the characters at all, obviously, because I haven't really watched it, but that episode, like, hit me super hard. Like, I was in class, and I was watching this because I was waiting for people to be finished with their work, and, like, my eyes were tearing up. I was like, I cannot believe I'm about to cry in class right now because of this cartoon I haven't watched since middle school.
Yeah.
It was so good, though. It's like, it's so good. Like, even for people who haven't seen the show, it's just an emotional episode.
You're proving my point. I'm so happy we had you on.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, I teared up. I really don't tear up or cry at, like, most things, TV show related. I generally don't, but even having seen this episode so many times, I've seen it a lot, and even knowing, you know, what's about to happen and everything, it's just, the thing about I Remember You is that it comes from a very real place. You know, whether you want to equate it to Alzheimer's or even just the general sense of people get older and then they're not the same people they were. That's no one can escape that. Time marches forward.
Yeah.
Time is an illusion.
In the form of almost 1,000 years.
Yeah.
996. But yeah, like, and I love the music too because it's not even like, they don't even feel like songs like you'd listen to on a soundtrack. It's just like free form, like the songs kind of flow into each other in the episode. Like I couldn't like name a song. It's just kind of like they're singing about princesses and they're singing about Marceline's talking about how he's nuts, and then that ending song that's just like, oh man.
And she literally just read the letter and turned it into a song, and I think that's also what made it so affected, because it wasn't her words. They were Simon's words. They weren't hers. So I think it hit harder in that he isn't actually there, but he's still contributing to the song because he is there. He's just not mentally there.
Yeah.
It's just a really impactful episode.
And it's interesting to hear her singing a letter that's written to her. Like that was, I don't know, that's just like a weird story thing that just makes it sadder. Like,
and it seemed like she hadn't read that beforehand. Like, it seemed like that was the first time she was seeing it.
Right. I mean, him talking about, I need to save you, but who's going to save me? That's clearly like a note that he's like writing in a diary, basically. Like, he doesn't want to say that to her because she's a little kid. Like, that's going to freak her out. But he needs to vent his frustrations because he's losing himself.
He doesn't have any other person to talk to, especially not another adult. She's a kid, so he doesn't want to put that burden on her.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that this episode goes by with only one flashback. Only the very ending allows a flashback. The rest of the episode is like inside Marceline's house. And it's like,
right.
You would think, okay, this is like a bottle episode. Like, I mean, you see the Ice King's house at the beginning, but it's like, it mostly takes place in one location. There's really not much action going on. Like, you would think this is be an uninteresting episode. And in fact, I've told this story before, but in fact, there's a commentary for this episode with Rebecca Sugar and all the other writers on Adventure Time. And she's actually like, almost embarrassed about the episode. Not about the episode, but she's like, she feels bad because she feels like she didn't put enough comedy in the episode. And that's so...
There's a really good joke in this episode.
There's a few. Well, first of all, yeah, you're wrong, Rebecca Sugar. But second of all, it's really interesting because, I don't know, it's just like, you could tell this came from a personal place. Like, when she talks about it, it's... I don't know, it's interesting. I recommend the Adventure Time commentaries on I think the first 2 or 3 seasons did them. But yeah, the comedy, there is comedy in this episode. Aside from her singing the Gunter song, what were you going to say, Monsters?
Oh, the chord joke.
Yes. Ice King gets tangled in a bunch of chords.
Ooh, this is freaky.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was not expecting that joke, but it was great.
Yeah, it makes me feel kind of freaky. Oh, goodness. And the jokes all kind of like highlight things like that joke about him being so pathetic that he gets stuck in the wires. It's like, yeah, that's a funny joke, but it also kind of like,
it's kind of sad.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's like, look at what's happened to him. He's a shell of his former self.
Yeah, I mean, he was a brilliant scientist, researcher guy, and now he's tangled in wires.
It always seems like he's like half there, like he's never really aware of what's going on.
Yeah,
I know, and you made a really good point with that Alzheimer's comparison, because it very much does seem like a portrayal of that almost.
Yeah, and there's times when he kind of comes close to getting it, like, so I also watched the finale. I won't really talk about this much, but I watched the finale, and there's a moment where he recognizes a big monster because Simon researched this monster, and he like sees a flashback, and then he's like, "Who was that guy?" Like he kind of like he's there, but he's not.
Yeah,
and they play with that throughout the show.
It's the possessed nature that the crown gave him.
Right, it gave him madness.
Yeah,
that's, if you don't know, Leia, the all the magical beings on Ooh, it's a formula based upon, it's like madness, sadness, and insanity. There's like I forget what the way they phrase it is kind of like funny, that like to be a magic user you have to be like partially insane, partially depressed. But
yeah. I really liked this episode. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to evoke any emotion out of me.
Oh.
And I feel like maybe it would have if I was a bit more engaged with the characters, or I don't know, because I really, when I used to watch Adventure Time, I wasn't like too invested in it. Like Leia, I tended to watch more of the episodes that weren't kind of like in a story arc.
You watched the first 3 seasons, probably.
Yeah, about that. And then I watched some later stuff too, like season 6, but I don't think that's a good example.
I'm not saying anything.
Right. No, but yeah, I don't know. I feel bad because it didn't make me feel any sort of emotion.
That's okay,
and
man.
I'm sure for people that are passionate about the show, I'm sure that it did mean something more.
But I'm not even like, I'm kind of removed from Adventure Time. I mean, I'm not devaluing where you're coming from, but I wouldn't say that I love I Remember You because I'm super invested. Like I said, Holly Jolly Secrets is like the only other bit of lore before this. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it's not like when we talked about Now We're Only Falling Apart a few weeks ago from Steven Universe, it's like to get to that point, you kind of have to know like 8 other episodes worth of lore to even understand what's going on in that episode.
I've seen Holly Jolly Secrets.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that episode.
Really? I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, another decent joke from I Remember You is towards the end they're singing and crying, and Finn and Jake are just standing outside like, what is going on? Like their minds are just blown that they can't just like go in there and punch Ice King. Like
yeah, it's funny too when like when they're like, so do you want us to take care of him? And she's like, no, he can stay. And they're like, what?
And Ice King is surprised too. He's like, wait, what? Yeah, what are they? He was just as surprised as they were. He thought for sure he was going to get kicked out.
And mind you, this is one of the episodes in the first 4 seasons that has the least of Finn and Jake in it. Up until oh goodness, I forget which episode breaks it, but up until a certain point in season 5, every episode was had Finn and Jake in it. There's the episode Thank You, which is the Thanksgiving episode that had them only in like the background. But this is another episode, another rare episode from the early times where they're still there, but the episode is not about them at all.
Mm-hmm.
The episode doesn't even shoehorn them in. It just kind of like gives them a realistic excuse to like be there, and then they're out. Like they're not sitting in on this emotional. Like I felt like it would have been very forced to have like Jake farting in the middle of the story. I mean that kind of happens in Holly Jolly Secrets, but I don't know. But yeah, and something I do want to point out, since I kind of mentioned that it does take place in basically one location, the staging of it is really good. Like Ice King goes and sits up on top of the fridge, and then Marceline is singing from the bottom of the fridge, and an apple rolls on the ground, and like it's not action, but it's just really good staging, like almost like dramatic staging.
Well, yeah, I didn't feel like bored in that one location at all. It didn't really seem like it was. You weren't really focusing on where they were. I don't think you were more so focusing on how Marceline was reacting to the Ice King, because you knew that something was going on between those two and that they had some sort of relationship beforehand, because otherwise she would have kicked him out when she had the chance, but she didn't. So I feel like it was just done really, really nicely, because the Ice King is just being really weird and sitting on top of the refrigerator for whatever reason, because he's a cat apparently. But it was I don't know, it was interesting how they didn't, and I don't feel like them being in one location detracted from it at all.
Yeah. You guys ready to move on?
Sure. Yeah.
So that's in stark contrast to the season 5 episode Simon and Marcy
says.
Which is Monsters. Would you like to describe this episode?
Sure. So yeah, like you mentioned, in contrast, this episode is pretty much entirely a flashback. And it's Marceline telling the story of her relationship with Simon, Ice King, shortly after the war. I guess this chronologically takes place a little bit after they meet, and Simon's her guardian, and there's a bit of a internal conflict that Simon's having, because he's using the crown as a defense mechanism, and as a way to protect Marceline. But at the same time, every time he uses it, he becomes less of himself, and he feels like he has to use it. So it just kind of follows this little adventure that they go on, where Marceline feels sick and he wants to get her some soup, and they encounter a lot of enemies, and it kind of documents his I don't know how you'd say, like him devolving into madness almost.
Sanity slippage.
Yeah, which is quite tragic.
The Last of Us 2012 colorized. Yeah, I mean, well, there's a reason why there's like a number of pieces of fiction where it's like zombie horde apocalypse and like strong man and little girl. That's a trope for a reason. And yeah, I mean, here's the thing, like, to set the stage, very rarely, I mean, almost never in Adventure Time, do you get kind of like a setup, like I Remember You, and then a payoff, like Simon and Marcy, where the payoff feels like it's like as satisfying, if not more, than the setup. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I Remember You is such a an emotional, interesting, crazy episode, and if you were to tell me, like, okay, well, now we're gonna do an episode that basically, like, instead of them singing and kind of hinting at this, we're gonna like dive deep. Here's an actual backstory episode that's all about them in the apocalypse. I would have probably been like, they're probably gonna butcher this. Like, they're probably gonna ruin it. And oh my god, do they just nail it? This was Rebecca Sugar's last episode of Adventure Time that she wrote for, and
it's a really good episode.
Yeah, what a way to go out, right?
I mean, I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I was trying to think of what episode I preferred between the two, and to be honest...
We'll get there.
Okay, well,
remember,
both
is
good.
never an option.
Okay. That evil laugh is concerning. But yeah, I agree. I think that they followed it up in the best way that they possibly could have. I like how we get to see what led up to how he slowly was falling into insanity and slowly losing himself and going insane. And I like to see the pushback that Marceline had to whenever he was trying to use it, because she saw what was happening.
Yeah.
It was really, really sad. And that's why I feel like this adds even more, like, it's one of those situations where you can go back and watch that episode now and it will hit you even harder than it did the first time you saw it, because she tried to stop it. And Simon didn't want it to happen, but like Monsters said, he felt like he didn't have a choice. He felt like that's what he had to do to protect the both of them.
He wasn't an idiot.
And then
he wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to keep wearing this crown, LOL.
Exactly. Like, there was a reason he genuinely felt that was the only way that he could protect the both of them. And I think then also going and listening to what he wrote down, like, I don't know who's looking out for me and stuff like that, like, it hits harder.
It's weird because I really got to give props to Rebecca Sugar, because it almost feels like simpler times and past times, except the thing is they're surrounded by, zombie hordes, and they're in like an apocalyptic world. So I guess in some ways that makes the present seem more simple. And in the same way, kind of like the little interactions that Simon and Marceline have along their journey are, gave me feelings of innocence and just, harmlessness. And yet again, there's so much violence and disturbing things in that world that they had. So I don't know. It almost felt like a glimpse of hope in an otherwise very nasty place.
I also want to throw out some credit to Cole Sanchez, who also co-wrote the episode. Just throwing that out there.
Shout out.
Because Rebecca Sugar gets a lot of praise, rightfully so, for writing some of the best episodes of Adventure Time, but she is not the only good writer on Adventure Time. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Just wanted to make sure that got said. But yeah, something I want to hear you guys' take on is how do you guys interpret, so instead of, memorable Rebecca Sugar songs, we get the Cheers theme song, which is probably the most, like, random choice that they could have ever gone with in terms of, like, I don't know. But what is your guys' opinion? Why is that there? What is that relevant to? I have my theory.
I don't have a
You guys
theory
don't?
for it. I just think it was a catchy song that was good to try and keep Simon on his toes to make him not go insane. He had something to sing to.
Okay.
Sorry. No, it's fine. I just don't think I have, like, a specific theory for it, but you also have seen more
True.
than I have, so...
It's more to do with Cheers, in that I've never even seen Cheers, but I know that the idea is that it's a show about a bar, and the point, or the point of the song anyway, is about how you leave your troubles behind and you distract yourself with drinking at the bar. And what Simon's trying to do to Marceline in that moment is distract her from this zombie apocalypse they're living out, and trying to bring her to a more mundane time when she could just sit back and watch TV. That's one thing.
That's deep. That's deep.
And another thing is that sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. On a surface level, in the future, no one knows that Simon's name, aside from Marceline.
Oh no, that's super sad.
If it makes you feel any better, after this episode, Finn almost exclusively refers to him as Simon instead of the Ice King.
Oh, that's actually really nice.
Yeah.
That he does that.
Also, I don't know if it's after this episode in particular, but at a certain point in the series, he stops kidnapping princesses, and the episodes are more about, like, him just trying to kind of, like, live his life. So they kind of, I don't know, they pivot his character in an interesting way that makes him plays to the more sympathetic aspect.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like in this episode at least, and maybe this is true to just the later seasons of Adventure Time, but at first, Marceline as a child was obviously very frightened, not only because, Simon, her father figure, is transforming into this new guy, but I feel like in the early stages of Ice King, he actually was very frightening and very out of control. But I feel like what we see in the present at least is Ice King is like, he's obviously like he had some malintent in trying to abduct princesses and that sort of thing, but he almost kind of seems like a helpless old man that like
Right.
it kind of seems happy-go-lucky and
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, he's always been, even before they kind of came up with this layer of Simon, there always was this kind of like, he's like ineffectual villain, like he's like Doofenshmirtz, where it's like, okay, yeah, he's trying to capture princesses and marry them, but like he's
not necessarily a bad person.
He's so bad at it. Yeah, and he's so bad at it that it's almost like the Plankton thing where like he doesn't even think he's gonna get that far. Like he's
just seeing him like all alone, gracefully floating through his house with Gunther. Like, I don't know, there was something that felt, I know I already used this word, but innocent about it.
Well, I mean, and if you want the Freudian reason, is that he called his girlfriend princess.
Yeah.
Oh. That makes it even more upsetting.
Oh, yeah. Well, she shows up too, but yeah. I mean, so Simon and Marcy, like, I like how they're kind of they kind of have a goal, like with the episode. Like the Ice King's goal is to get Marceline soup. Like that's the plan. It's not just like here's just like a random day of them wandering around. Like he needs to get her soup because she's sick, and it's like really kind of adorable that he thinks that like he can just kind of get her soup and that's just gonna cure her. But I guess like when you're trapped in that kind of situation, that's all you can do. Is just kind of like try to look for the simple solutions and survive. And I mean, I say zombies, I guess they're like primordial candy people. Like the beginnings of, I can't, they kind of explain this at parts of the series, but the Adventure Time lore is a little complicated. But yeah, no, it's more interesting than if they had just been like zombie humans, because those things are freaky.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
One of my favorite moments in the episode is when they're in the soupery and she's like, "Don't use the crown, you can't, Simon," and he's like, "I have to." And then he just donks the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part was great. I loved that.
Yeah, that's a golden like bait and switch dramatic moment into comedy. That's a good stuff.
Also, shall I say, some of the animation in this episode was really good when it came to like, because they had like a really cool shot where the camera almost kind of hovers over the aisles in the soupery, and also like perspective shots from using like the motorbike and the desk chair.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of stuff was really cool.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was about to mention the soupery
Soupery.
scene, because it was just like, no, because like it was just the way that the camera moved from
with
their
him
angle up. Yeah,
as he
it was
stood up.
so cool. Like you don't really see a lot of animation like that because it's complicated to do, but I loved that part. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta go watch that again, because it was just, it was so nice looking.
Oh yeah. And if ever you need an example of how wonderful the backgrounds on Adventure Time are, just like look at this episode, because they had to basically design all this stuff from scratch. Like this doesn't look anything else in OO. The only other time, I mean, we've seen like brief flashbacks to before the Mushroom War, like at the end of I Remember You, but they had to kind of design everything for this episode. Like that takes time and planning. You don't always, sometimes you take it for granted. There's also like, I love this episode too, because there's just kind of a million little details. Like you might not even catch that they ate that deer. like that's what they were eating the next day.
I caught it.
Yeah, and then Marceline offers him deer guts, and then the bowl that she was offering the deer guts in, that's what she uses as a helmet in the next scene with the motorcycle.
I didn't catch the helmet thing, but I did catch the deer thing, and I was like, oh, I wonder if they let it go. And then as soon as I thought that, I saw the meat, and I was like, oh, they didn't let it go.
Listen, you don't wanna mess with deer in the Adventure Time universe. Just trust me on that one.
I've seen the GIF,
the freak deer. Yeah, people are like joking that it's like an ancient ancestor. But yeah. Also, good animation on that deer, like, flipping.
Oh, yeah.
I felt so bad for that deer.
I did
It was
too.
just in that frozen bubble looking around, like, help me.
Did you cry for the deer monsters? Did that evoke emotion in you?
Yes. And then they cut to it on a rotisserie.
Hey, man, you gotta survive in the apocalypse.
Yeah, I know.
Imagine the last thing you see is a man flying with his beard hurling ice at you.
The clambulance. That's
What's the thing that it said once the siren went off? It was like clams.
It was like
Clambulance.
Clambulance. Oh god, it just reminds me. There was this joke on a milk carton at my old school. It was just like, what type of a ambulance does a farmer take? And it was hambulance. And every single time somebody got that joke on the milk carton, they would just start yelling hambulance all throughout the cafeteria, and that's just what that reminds me of.
that person, Rebecca Sugar. Can we talk about the climax scene at the end?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, like, he finally gets her to the soup, or wait, does the battle happen before or after the soup? I can't remember.
That happens before. Then when he defeats them, the soup can falls out of the pink blob.
It's Princess Bubblegum.
Is it really?
It's primordial Princess Bubblegum.
Wow.
Primordial Princess Bubblegum. What a sentence.
Yeah, that's Adventure Time. Makes you say sentences. It's actually ditto. No, but anyway, so he has to put on the crown, like, for the last time in the episode, and to give this big onslaught of ice, and it's just like he's singing the Cheers theme song, but like crazily, and it's just oof. They kind of pull a lot of.
I'm sorry.
Shut up.
The reason I think it's sad is because he tries so hard to keep himself, and at the end he says Gunter, so it's just like he didn't fully succeed. That's why I thought it was sad, because he tried so hard, and they put the illusion that he succeeded because he got the soup, but then he doesn't say Marceline's name, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, and that's when he puts on the helmet, the crown to fight the deer. His joke when he takes it off, actually, when he's like, "Did I look pretty fly?" That's such a creepy moment. Like,
It is.
It's just a
It
dumb
was really
joke,
creepy.
but because it's like he says it with a sense that like he's the Ice King, like he has no sanity anymore, and she's just a little kid. Like, that's got to be terrifying. That was terrifying.
I mean, that part was also mentioned in the letter too. It was just like, I don't know what you said, but you were frowning.
Oh,
And then he said it was about the crown. That was in that episode in the letter. That's why I said, like, if you go back and watch it.
I never even made that connection. Wow.
Really?
No, not that specifically. Interesting.
But yeah, at least that's what I think it was referring to, because that's the episode that shows it in.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Huh.
So I think it makes the other episode more impactful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's...
because you actually get to see it.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I want to make it clear that just because it's on the recast, in no way is Simon and Marcy a rehash or a reboot or something. It's like... I don't like, these episodes are just tied together just really nicely, I guess.
It's a follow-up.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, like Lea said, it kind of retroactively helps I Remember You as well. So it's just like a really nice circle. And I'll be honest, I think Adventure Time really peaked at Simon and Marcy. Like, I just don't ever think the show got as good as Simon and Marcy was. And I Remember You is also, like, these are both easily top 10 episodes for the entire series. Like, I've seen every episode, and they try. They certainly try, and sometimes they make really good episodes, but I don't know, it just never got as compelling or interesting as Simon and Marcy, and like I said, it's Rebecca Sugar's last episode, so a lot of people make that connection, rightly or wrongly. All right, so, decision time.
Oh boy.
2019. Monsters, you go first.
Man, this is tough. Honestly, I think I enjoyed Simon and Marcy more. I'm sure that's probably the more popular answer, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the music and kind of the theatrics, and I Remember You. if I'm being entirely honest.
Monsters has no soul.
I mean, I liked Marcy in space. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, it was still, both of them are really good episodes. That's why it's a tough decision for me to make. But I don't know. I found Simon and Marcy to be more charming, more compelling, and I thought that there was more that I took away from it.
Lea?
I'm gonna have to say I Remember You better. But it's a very hard decision because I liked both of them almost the same amount, but I think the fact that the first one came out of absolutely nowhere, I like that better because I like things that can surprise me. With the second one, you kind of knew where it was going, and that's not a bad thing. But I generally like things that hit me out of nowhere with the feels. So
Okay. So before I say how I feel, I'm gonna throw it to a viewer comment from a guy named Crystal, same person who asked the question, and they say, though I have more of an emotional resonance with I Remember You, I'd have to say Simon and Marcy is the better episode. It feels more representative of Adventure Time, as the comedy and emotional moments are perfectly balanced. While I find the emotional stuff in I Remember You a bit more effective and sweet than Simon and Marcy has a lot of the elements that make Adventure Time as good as it is, from the comedy to the characters to the world building. Okay, so I made a top 10 where I put Simon and Marcy at number 1, and I agree with Crystal that Simon and Marcy is definitely the episode that hits like all the points you kind of want from an Adventure Time episode. Like, I think I Remember You is not necessarily representative of Adventure Time, except for the fact that I Remember You kind of shows that Adventure Time can be anything, which, oh boy, can Adventure Time be anything. But I would say that Simon and Marcy is probably like an episode that I would recommend like to watch first or whatever. Like, I'd be like, if you can only watch one episode of Adventure Time to get you hooked, Simon and Marcy might be it. However, on this rewatch, I will say that I Remember You just got me more emotionally. And I would say that Simon and Marcy is like a more balanced episode and probably the technically better episode. But for my pick, just for this recast, I'm going to go with I Remember You because, yeah, I teared up and I feel like it says more with less than Simon and Marcy does, which is not a knock against Simon and Marcy. It's just, I Remember You just really, like Lea says, it just kind of comes out and hits you, you know? Like Simon and Marcy is definitely a better like kids show episode, I guess.
yeah.
So I'll pick I Remember You. And interestingly enough, on our trivia, on our recast poll, we got 59% that voted for I Remember You. So I Remember You won on that front as well.
It was pretty close though, 59.
59 and 41, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
How
many
was
votes?
pretty close.
Do you know?
6 votes. No, 211 votes. So not bad.
Wow, yeah, so that is pretty balanced.
Yeah, I gave it a 2-day time span on that one.
But they're both really good, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's a wrong answer on this one.
No, I think it comes down to personal preference.
Absolutely.
Because, like, for me, it's the more emotional. If it can make me cry, it's my favorite one. Just because that's just how I gauge things by. Because I don't cry easily at shows. I like. Don't give me that. I don't. I haven't cried during most of the Steven Universe stuff. That show just happens to get me. Mm-hmm. Because it's Pearl. Pearl will always get me, but that's the exclusive thing.
I saw you crying at Onion Gang.
Totally. I totally cried during Onion Gang, but only because it was awful.
Well, he is an onion. Oh, goodness. Monsters. I believe you had one or two other viewer comments.
Yeah, just a couple real quick. Friend of the show, Nick Tendo, says, Simon and Marcy is the better episode. It's good world building and one of the most satisfying 11 minutes of the show.
I don't like that guy.
I love how there was a silence, and then you were just like, I don't like that guy.
Just kidding, Nintendo's a friend of the show.
Yeah. You're gonna keep getting back at him for that one trivia.
Nick ever do to you?
Nick said he was right because he had more subscribers than me. I'll never let go of that. Anyway, Monsters, give us an unbiased pick here.
Next one from Kirby Over Yonder. This is a really tough call. Both of these are easily among the top 10 best Adventure Time episodes. I Remember You is such a beautiful episode. I love the interactions between Ice King and Marceline. I love the exploration of their relationship. I love all of the songs, particularly the last one, and finding Jake's role in the episode is also pretty funny. With Simon and Marcy, I love getting to see the backstory of Simon and Marceline and the ways he would protect Marceline. The atmosphere in that episode is also really good. Simon's struggle to remain sane was also really fascinating. I may be alone on this, but I think I prefer I Remember You. I think seeing Ice King and Marceline react in the present is slightly more meaningful to me than seeing them react in the past. But again, these are both amazing episodes, and I wouldn't argue with anyone who thought that Simon and Marcy was the better episode.
Very well said.
Yeah.
I think we forgot to talk about the most important thing from Simon and Marcy, which is the Ice King's basketball skills.
Yeah,
He's
got hoops.
Yeah, I love how the episode starts out with them. They're playing basketball, and then it ends with them playing basketball. Because it's such an emotionally tense story that they kind of had to wrap it around with something goofy.
Right.
All right, Monsters. I believe you had trivia this week.
Yes, I do. I do have trivia. So we're gonna bring it back to another edition of Real or Fake Adventure Time titles. So
Oh, boy.
There's 5 prompts. We're gonna have Lea go first, and then Pie. All right, are you guys ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The first title is We Fixed a Truck.
I'm gonna say that's not real.
Okay, and Pie?
That episode is real and guest stars Weird Al Yankovic as Banana Man.
That is correct.
It's a boring episode that's about exactly what you think. They fix the
I didn't
truck.
even know they had trucks in their universe.
Yeah, they kind of
That's why I said no.
They kind of, I don't know. They kind of make things a little more modern in the later seasons. Anyway, continue, Monsters.
Yeah. So yeah, Pie has a point.
I do, thank you.
Next prompt. Stakes Part 12, Alone in the Night.
True. That's
Okay.
real.
And Pie?
That's false. Any Adventure Time aficionado would know that their multi-part specials are only 8 parts.
That is correct.
That's a good one, though. Alone in the Night. I like it.
That's the best I could think of. All right. Next up, The Haunted Coffee Table.
I'm gonna say that's real.
Okay, and Pie?
Leia's trying to get all these wrong. That's fake.
Is it really?
That's a Camp Laszlo episode.
See, this is why I knew that was an episode title. I just didn't know what show it was from.
Okay, of course. Mm-hmm.
I used to watch Camp Laszlo a lot. Don't even test
no,
me.
not another one.
What do you
Yeah,
mean,
Leia's
not
cool like
another
that.
one? Oh, does Monsters watch it
Monsters
too? Good.
loves Camp Laszlo.
I am the internet's self-proclaimed biggest Camp Laszlo fan.
You know the person who runs the No Context Laszlo Twitter? That's Monsters.
Is it really?
No, I wish it was.
Aw.
Because I want the Camp Kidney at. Anyway. All right, next prompt. The Cave of Two Lovers.
I'm gonna say no because of that laugh.
Don't worry about it. It's just what the episode's about.
Oh, so was I wrong then again?
You're
I
allowed
need a
to
final answer.
You're allowed to change your...
Okay, fine. I'll say it's a real episode then.
Okay, you're saying it's real.
Yeah.
Okay, and Pie?
That's an Avatar The Last Airbender title. That's not real. But we still managed to trick Leia into saying the wrong answer.
Yeah, because I trusted you. I wouldn't take pride in knowing that you tricked me.
All right, Pie has 4, Leia has nothing.
It's okay. I beat him at the Steven Universe one, so.
Oh,
Hey, how dare you?
all right.
That's true. That's true.
All right, and our final prompt. Furniture and meat.
I don't even know what that sounds like.
What do you think?
I'm gonna say yes, because anything else that I think is wrong has been wrong, and I think
it's a
this
real
is
episode?
wrong. Yes.
Okay, and Pie?
It is a real episode. It's about Finn and Jake deciding that they have too much wealth and they need to go spend it, and Jake becomes incredibly opulent and annoying.
All right, so Leia has 1 point, and Pie got 5 for 5.
Oh yeah, that's easy. That was a
Was
good. Furniture and Meat was a good choice because that does not sound like an episode title.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it was one. That's why I went against what my gut feeling was.
Oh, this was a good recast.
Yeah. Good recast.
Thank you very much, Leia, for being here.
Thanks, Leia.
Yeah, no problem. It's a lot of fun.
So check out Leia at Toon Ruins. No. So Leia, is there anything you'd like to plug over at Toon Runes?
I don't know, just my YouTube or my Twitter. I also post a lot of pictures of my cat, Connor. He's a little jerk, but I love him.
Most people would plug their content, but Leia's plugging her cat, and I like it. All right, so join us next week for Mystery Show, which again we'll be announcing on the Discord and Twitter when we have the heads up on that. And then the week after that's going to be the big Avengers Blowout. Everyone excited for... Actually, I don't even want to say like a fake spoiler just in case it turns out to be real and then people get like mad at me. So, yeah.
Thanos is my dad.
Oh.
I am not Gamora. Or Nebula.
Oh, wait, are you Gamora? Is Monsters Gamora?
Monsters is Gamora.
I am
New
green,
rumor
and I'm
is
also
true.
pretty cool.
All right, PIEGUYRULZ out.
Bye, guys.
Catch you next time.